When I first moved in with Maya, it wasn't love. Not exactly. It was convenience. Rent was high, and she was the only person on the campus board looking for a quiet roommate who didn't party much and paid bills on time. I fit the description perfectly. She was standing by the window when I arrived, sunlight pooling behind her like a halo, making the ends of her black hair shimmer almost blue. Her shirt hung loose, sleeves rolled to her elbows, and she smiled when she saw me. A small, careful smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You must be Erin," she said, brushing a paint-stained hand against her jeans before offering it. "Yeah, you're Maya, right?" Her hand was warm, soft, the kind of touch that lingers longer in your memory than it does in real life. The apartment was tiny, 1 bedroom each, a narrow kitchen, and a living room just big enough for a couch, a bookshelf, and the low hum of shared silence. The walls smelled faintly of coffee and lavender detergent. The first few days passed quietly. Maya was an art student, always sketching, her hair tied up in messy knots, fingers stained with graphite. She painted in the mornings, cooked late at night, and sometimes hummed when she thought I wasn't listening. I was a literature major, always reading, always watching. We shared space, but not our worlds. Not yet. Sometimes I'd pass her door half open and catch glimpses. Her sitting cross-legged on the floor, headphones on, paint across her wrist. Or the way she'd tuck one strand of hair behind her ear every time she concentrated. Little things. Harmless things. Until one night. I came home late from class, rain clinging to my jacket, the hallway lights flickering like bad memories. The apartment was dark, except for a glow from the living room. Maya was asleep on the couch, curled under a blanket, the TV still playing softly. A cup of unfinished tea sat beside her sketchbook. I glanced at it and froze. She'd been drawing me. The lines were soft but unmistakable. My profile, my messy bun, the exact curve of my jaw when I read. There were several pages like that. Me from different angles. Me laughing. Me lost in thought. For a moment, the air thickened. I should have felt flattered, maybe weirded out, but what I felt was something else. Something like recognition. I sat down quietly, watching her sleep. Her breathing was even, lips parted slightly. She looked peaceful. And I realized that for the first time since my breakup months ago, I wasn't thinking about the past. I was thinking about her. Over the next few weeks, things changed subtly. Our conversations stretched longer. She started making coffee for 2 without asking. I'd find my books moved from the kitchen table to the couch, neatly stacked, her unspoken way of claiming a spot beside me. We never said anything about the sketches. I never told her I saw them. But there was a softness to the way she looked at me after that, like she knew I knew, and words were no longer necessary. That Saturday morning, the city woke up slow and golden. Maya stood by the balcony, sunlight falling across her bare shoulders, the strap of her camisole slipping down just enough to make my breath hitch. "You ever think about leaving?" she asked suddenly, still watching the street below. "Leaving?" "Yeah, just packing up, going somewhere no one knows you." Her voice was low, thoughtful, and sad. "Sometimes," I admitted, "but I don't think I'd want to go alone." She turned then, slowly. Her eyes, a deep brown, met mine. For a heartbeat, I thought she'd say something. I could feel it, that tension, that fragile possibility trembling between us. But instead, she smiled, the kind of smile that hides more than it reveals. "Good," she said softly. "Me neither." And just like that, the moment passed, the air shifting back to something ordinary, though my pulse refused to believe it. That night, I wrote in my journal. The winter months crept in quietly.
frosting the edges of our windows and settling into our bones. The apartment felt smaller, warmer, like the walls themselves had learned to breathe with us. Maya started wearing my sweaters. At first, it was accidental, or at least that's what she said. But then every morning, there she was in the kitchen, sleeves too long, hair still damp from a shower, wrapped in something that smelled faintly of my perfume. "You don't mind, right?" "No," I said, my voice too steady for how my heart was hammering. "It looks better on you anyway." She smiled, that small, knowing smile that always felt like a secret. We spent nights curled up on opposite sides of the couch, watching movies neither of us really paid attention to. Sometimes our knees would brush. Sometimes her head would fall onto my shoulder when she got tired. And every time, I'd hold my breath. There was this one night. It was raining again, the kind of rain that sounds like static, soft and endless. The power went out around midnight, plunging the apartment into candlelight and quiet. Maya sat cross-legged on the floor, sketchbook open, a candle flickering beside her. Shadows played across her face like moving brushstrokes. "You ever think about why people are so afraid of saying how they feel?" she asked suddenly. "Because once you say it, you can't take it back." She looked up, her eyes glimmering gold in the candlelight. "Maybe that's the point," she whispered. "Maybe some things shouldn't be taken back." The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was charged. The kind of silence that hums between two people standing too close, breathing the same air, thinking the same thought. I wanted to reach for her. I wanted to say it, the thing that had been building in me for months. But instead, I said nothing. And neither did she. The next day, she avoided me. Her room door stayed closed, the kitchen was too quiet, the coffee pot remained untouched. When I finally knocked, she opened the door halfway, eyes red, her sketchbook clutched to her chest. "Are you okay?" I asked. "Yeah," she said too quickly, "just tired." But I could see the drawings scattered on her desk behind her. Dozens of sketches, all of me again. Except these were different, rougher, angrier, longing tangled with something like guilt. And then, before I could stop myself, I reached out and touched her wrist. She froze. "Maya," I said softly, "whatever this is, you don't have to hide it." Her breath caught. The world narrowed. Just her, just me, just that fragile space between us. "Aaron," she whispered, "you don't know what you're saying." "I do. And maybe I've been too scared to say it, but The words broke before they could take shape. Because she stepped back. Because the fear in her eyes was louder than my confession. "Please don't," she said, her voice trembling. "Not if you don't mean it." I wanted to tell her I did, that I'd meant it since the first time she smiled at me from across the room, that she'd become my favorite part of every day. But she was already closing the door. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything. The sketches, the way she said don't, the way my name had cracked in her throat. By morning, she was gone. Her side of the living room was empty. Her easel was folded. Only a note sat on the kitchen counter, folded neatly under my coffee mug. "Don't wait up. I need time to think." The apartment felt hollow after that. Too quiet. Too clean, like she'd taken the sound of laughter with her. For 3 days, I barely left my room. Every knock from the neighbors made my chest jump with false hope. Every sound from the hallway made me listen harder. When she finally came back, she looked different. Tired, but calmer. Her eyes were softer, but there was still a distance I didn't know how to cross. "You were gone," I said quietly. "I needed air," she replied, "and space." "Did you find what you were looking for?" She smiled sadly. "No," she said, "because what I wanted was still here." And then, for the first time, she stepped closer. So close that I could feel her breath on my lips. "Aaron," she whispered, "tell me this isn't just curiosity. Tell me you see me." "I do," I said. "I always have." She closed her eyes, trembling. For a moment, I thought she would kiss me. I wanted her to, but she didn't. She just leaned her forehead against mine, and for that one suspended second, it felt like the whole world held its breath with us. "Then maybe," she said, "that's enough for now." And it wasn't, but it had to be.
Spring came late that year. The snow melted into puddles along the street, the city waking up again, soft, green, and alive. But inside the apartment, time felt still, like we were trapped between seasons. Maya and I moved through our days carefully, like we were afraid to break something invisible between us. We still cooked together sometimes, still watched the same late-night shows, but everything had changed. The space between us buzzed with what we didn't say. One evening, I found her sitting on the balcony, sketchbook open, sunlight resting on her hair like gold dust. She didn't notice me at first. She was drawing the skyline, and in the corner of the page, a faint outline of two women, sitting side by side. I leaned against the doorframe. "It's beautiful," I said softly. She jumped a little, smiling awkwardly. "You scared me," she laughed. "You always do that." "Maybe you're just easy to surprise." She looked at me, eyes warm but tired. "Or maybe I just forget how to look for you," she said quietly. There it was again, the ache we never stopped carrying. That night, she cooked dinner, her favorite pasta, the one she always made when she was trying to say something difficult. Halfway through the meal, she put her fork down and said, "Aaron, I got accepted." I froze. "Accepted? For what?" "An artist residency. In Florence." The words hit me like a slow wave. Beautiful and painful, all at once. "That's amazing," I said, trying to smile. "It's only for 6 months," she added quickly. "But they only take 10 artists a year. I can't..." She stopped herself. "I can't turn it down." I nodded. "Of course not. You shouldn't." She looked relieved and broken at the same time. We didn't talk much after that. We just sat there. Two people who wanted to hold on, but knew they couldn't. In the days that followed, the apartment began to empty itself. One by one, her things disappeared. The easel, the coffee mugs, the stack of old sketchbooks. I helped her pack, pretending it was just another move, pretending I wasn't breaking with every box. One evening, I found her sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, surrounded by half-packed suitcases. Her hair was messy, her eyes red. She held up one of her sketches, a drawing of us laughing on the couch, our hands almost touching. She said, "I kept trying to get it right, but I never could." "Why not?" I asked. She looked at me like it was obvious. "Because it never felt finished." That was the first time I couldn't hold myself back anymore. I crossed the room, knelt beside her, and before I could talk myself out of it, I kissed her. It wasn't sudden or desperate. It was soft, slow, full of everything we'd swallowed for months. Her lips tasted like salt and something electric, like a promise that had been waiting too long. When we pulled apart, she was crying. "I shouldn't have waited," she whispered. "Neither of us should have." We stayed like that, forehead to forehead, breathing in the same rhythm, while the city outside hummed and the wind brushed through the curtains like a sigh. The day she left, the morning light was cruelly beautiful. She wore one of my sweaters, sleeves still too long, a suitcase by the door. I tried to smile, but my throat burned. "You'll write?" I asked. "Every week," she promised. "And maybe one day you'll visit." I nodded. Maybe. We didn't say goodbye with another kiss, just a look that said everything we couldn't voice aloud. When the door closed, the silence that followed was enormous. Weeks passed. I filled the apartment with small distractions, new plants, new routines. But some nights, I'd catch myself sitting by the window, watching the rain, half expecting her to walk in again, hair damp, sketchbook in hand. Then, one morning, a letter arrived, postmarked from Italy. Inside was a single page. She wrote, "I painted us. Two women sitting by a window, light spilling between them. They're not touching, but you can tell they want to. The gallery owner says it feels like longing. I told him it's love." I read it over and over until the ink began to blur. Months later, I went to see her work in a local exhibit, and there it was, the painting she'd written about. Us. I stood in front of it for a long time. The brushstrokes were soft, glowing, almost alive. It felt like she'd captured the quiet between our hearts. A small tag beneath it read, "For E, who taught me that love doesn't need to be spoken to be real." I smiled, even as tears welled up. Because she was right. We didn't share our feelings until it was too late. But maybe, in some quiet, infinite way, we still shared our hearts.